to you, O King. Oh, hallelujah to our King. Hallelujah, I will sing. You are great, almighty. Honor to you, King. Oh, love, oh, Lord, I thank you. Oh, wherever you are, please. Want to say good afternoon to you if you're just joining. This is the Heart of the Matter with Dr. Marjorie.
Yes.
Want to say good afternoon to you, Dr. Marjorie. Want to say welcome to those who are joining on YouTube and Facebook. Let me welcome you to the Heart of the Matter. Dr. Marjorie is here. She is ready to go.
Hello,
But I
Denise.
will not delay her. Good afternoon to you, Doc. How you doing? Before you
doing
start,
very
let me just read this disclaimer for those who will be tuning in and calling. We just want you to know that this content is for informational purposes only. The information that you receive here is not to be used for diagnostic or treatment purposes and never is to be replaced for actual or a replacement for actual in-person counseling. Right? We're glad to have you call in and receiving the help that you need. Dr. Marjorie is here to provide the tips and advice for you to get the counseling that you need or to get the healing that you need. Want to welcome you again and thank you for joining us today, Doc.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you for coming on and doing this. I'm struggling.
You sound strong. From my end, you sound strong.
Thank you so very much. It is a struggle, but God is good. I'm trusting Him all the way and walking in my healing.
Yes, I'm sure that your listeners are going to extend compassion to you.
I do appreciate they are very great listeners. They're very great co-drivers, and they help me along the journey. So I'm so grateful for that. How are you today?
I'm very good. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Flew very down to the southern part of the state and spent it with my family. We hadn't been together for, I think, about 6 years. When my mother passed, um, she passed in 2019, and it was October. And November, we all got together in her house and had one last Thanksgiving together in that house that she lived in for over 60 years. I grew up in that house. I was 10 years old when we moved into that house. It was a very special place. So we had one last hurrah. And then COVID hit, and we all kind of scattered. And then my nephew and his wife said, "Let's all come down to everybody come to San Diego." And so we did, and we had one big giant family slumber party. There were 18 of us in their house. There were people sleeping under the dining room table. There were people sleeping in the camper outside. I heard there was a tent, but I never saw whoever was in the tent. But it was lovely, and I'm glad to be home, though.
We had a similar Thanksgiving where we got together. It's not we gather last year. The only year that I didn't show up was COVID. Hold on a second for me, please. Sorry. The struggle is real, but so is God.
Amen.
We gathered 12 of us, 14 of us, because there were 2 babies, so it's 14. We gather every year, um, and so it was no different. I'm responsible for decorating, which I love to do, and my friend, who I consider to be the best cook in the Bay, she did the cooking, and it was just an awesome, awesome time with the family again.
Was there anything that was specifically Jamaican that you had for food?
Everything about it was Jamaican.
Everything, everything. So does that mean turkey?
The only turkey we had was in the collard greens. Um, there was no turkey on the table. We really don't do turkey.
You don't do turkey. What kind of protein do you do?
Oh my god, we had oxtail, we had jerk chicken, we had curried goat. Yes, we eat goat.
Oh,
We had roast chicken, there was tri-tip, there was pork chops, um, there was jerk salmon. I think that was it for protein.
that
I'm
sounds
not sure if I
fantastic.
missed anything, but we had a lot of food. A lot of food.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Every
I
year they
love it.
had
I love
every
it that I was made an honorary Jamaican.
Oh, yes, Sir Brian Steele gave you your crown.
Yes, what an honor.
I love it too. Well, welcome to Jamaica.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What should we
Um,
talk about today?
there was so much in that, devotional today that we could, pull from. There's the whole aspect of compassion. There's the aspect of trust. Um, there is just so
Well,
much
let's
today.
start there. Those are 2 really wonderful, mental health issues. The extension of compassion to ourselves and to other people, and also the, whole issue of trust. Let's start there.
Mhm.
Um, I you gave a wonderful example of Pastor Jesse extending something very simple to you, just
Yeah,
saying, "Go home," when you felt crummy.
yes.
And I had a story came to mind. Um, it was last year, and I had COVID and got very dehydrated. I wasn't paying attention and was running a very high fever. I felt absolutely terrible. And I had depleted everything. I had just given everything out to my clients, to my work. Um, it was exhausting. I was exhausted. And so I said to my daughter, I really think that I need to go to the hospital, to the emergency room. So my daughter gathered me up, took me to the emergency room, and I had a moment with the triage nurse and the doctor who came in to look at me. And I was just describing how worn out I was. And they said, what do you do for are you retired? And I said, "No, I'm not retired. I'm a mental health therapist." And they both turned around and looked at me, and I said, "Compassion fatigue. It's real." And do you know that the 3 of us began to cry? The triage nurse, the doctor, who was also a woman doctor, and I started to cry. I said, "You guys are on the front lines, and I so appreciate you. I know that you'd rather not be here with somebody that has COVID and so sick." And they said, "Oh, no, no, no. Let us take care of you. It's time for you to stop and let us take care of you, Dr. Margie." And do you know just that moment of compassion with 2 other people who were so tired and so worn out, just the 3 of us having shed some tears together, and then them saying to me, Let us take care of you. This is the time for us to take care of you." And they became so cheerful at that point because they were doing what they love to do. And I allowed them to offer me that compassion, and healing began, not just with my body, but with my mind. And they took me aside, and the gentleman that came in to start giving me fluids, he was so cheerful, and I was able to just lie there and receive healing. And just like you with Pastor Jessie, when she offered compassion in your time of need, that was the healing touch, and it was a very simple thing. And for those that triage nurse and for that doctor, that was a very simple thing for them to offer me. We get it, we understand, and now it's your turn to just lie there and let us help you. I'm pretty sure that listeners can identify with this, that there are times when you can offer compassion in not just saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss," or "I'm sorry for your trouble," but saying, "Go home," or saying, "Just be still," or "Can I make you a cup of tea?"
Or I'll pray
That's the best thing of all.
and do it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering if the listeners have some examples they'd like to call in of times when they were offered compassion, and then we can talk about uh, how that offering of compassion extended and not only made us feel loved and whole, but the effects of that one act and how it spread out through our lives. I'd love to know. I'd love to know.
Let me
I'm sure
just
that
take this opportunity to remind the listeners that the number to call, this is a call in program. You can call and talk to Dr. Marjorie about any issue. It doesn't necessarily have to relate to trust and compassion, but whatever it is that you're facing today, whatever it is that you've gone through that you're still struggling through, Dr. Marjorie is here to take you through. You can call WhatsApp number 825 343 4486. That's WhatsApp number 825 343 4486. Go ahead and call my friends. You don't have to wait on her. You can jump in the discussion that we're having. In fact, I'm inviting you to jump in the discussion because I need to save my energy. I need to save my oxygen.
yes,
And
for sure.
if you could jump in and call and even have this discussion with Dr. Marjorie, I would be grateful. If you'd like to sit in my place today, I would be grateful for you to call right now. The number is WhatsApp 825 343 4486. Call about your own issues. Call about what we're talking about. Have a conversation with Dr. Marjorie today. Doc,
Another part of this that would be interesting to talk about is, have there ever been times where where you wished that compassion had been offered and it wasn't? I'm thinking of a conversation I had recently, and it was an unfortunate conversation. I happened to make a comment. This was just to a friend. I just happened to make a comment, and I saw her face. She kind of went like that, backed up a little bit, and I said, "Oh, was that? Did I just offend you by saying that?" And she's I I could definitely tell that I had offended her with a very flip comment that I made, and, she said, "Oh, no, 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 no," but I knew I had, and I said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that was, um, a sensitive topic," and, it was kind of brushed off. And I've had that happen before where something's brushed off and you wish that you could go back and uh, and revisit what was just said and apologize again. And if somebody's not in a place where they um, can offer um, that's okay or forgiveness, then it makes things really complicated. Have you ever been in a situation like that, Denise, where you wish that a bit of compassion had been offered and it wasn't?
I have. Um, it. I wonder how can I share it without offending the person. I think I need to start by saying that we've since apologized and
Mm,
moved on,
mhm,
and we're in a great space right now. However, I hope I can say this without offending the person because I did not ask permission
mm,
to share it.
mhm.
But it's an experience I had working with someone. You know what? Let me use another example.
Okay.
I had a manager who he worshiped on a Saturday and I worshiped on a Sunday. I was there to promote, to be the marketer for it is still to date Jamaica's biggest one night concert. The Brooklyn
Mhm,
Tabernacle Choir was coming to Jamaica and I did the marketing for them. I went to the company as a student. In fact, the manager of the company sought me out. I don't know how he got my resume. I don't know how he got my number, but he called me and asked me to come and work with him for the promotion of that concert. This was um, my second major event. I was still in school, so fresh in marketing. I used everything that I knew how to and made it a success. However, my difficulty was that on a Friday, when I'm trying to push through to get things done at 6 o'clock, like every other evening, I have to leave to go to school, and he would want me to stay. And sometimes I do stay, missing class. Now, on a Friday, no matter where I am or how close I am to finishing what I'm doing, he tells me that I need to leave because he has to close the business by 6 o'clock. There was no understanding, no compassion, no mercy extended there. I could not go in on a Saturday, which was my day off from school, although it was my study time, but I was willing to give that time to them. However, on a Sunday, when I'm in church, and he made it clear that that is his worship day and I could do no work on that day. On a Sunday while I'm in church, I could always expect my phone to ring. And he's asking, what time is church finishing? Didn't you have some work to finish on Friday? Come, I'm at the office or I'm going to the office. Come, I'm going to open up for you. Come right after church for me to meet with you. Granted, I have work and school on Monday. And sometimes Sundays might, Sundays, your time off to rest, to recoup, to be in the presence of the Lord. And he does this continuously for the period that I was working with him, to the point where even my pastor got offended. Like, this man doesn't respect your worship time. Why are you respecting his worship time? But I tried to be Christ like, knowing that I was working for the Lord.
mm,
And I still did that. You know what? The only person who said thank you at the end of this was the manager for Integrity Records. That is the record company for Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir. And
mm.
Pastor Simbala. He did not say thank you. In fact, he told me he would not pay some of the vendors because I used them on a Saturday. I also got in trouble because I took an interview on the Friday evening before the concert. Meanwhile, this man was there before 6 o'clock selling tickets at the gate on Saturday. I wish I had gotten some compassion in that period because it was a stressful period. It was hard work, and I was a student doing this. But it is still Jamaica's most successful one night event. Yeah.
So, Denise, what does that tell you about him?
Can I say it the way I want to say it?
Of course you can. Well,
I
I
could
think.
not. Well, I could not see God in him. And might I say, he turned me off from the religion. There was there I met a few people along the way who redeemed my hope in, you know, the Adventist faith, but I would never, that's what I said. After going through that ordeal, I would never want to become an Adventist. If that's the way they behave, I want nothing to do with their God.
Ooh, that I think about the dumb things I've said, and I wonder if I've done that. I'm sure I must have done that somewhere along the way. Also, something that was said in jest, like when I started talking about this topic, I alluded to something that happened not too long ago, and how I immediately regretted the response I got. Um, then we have to extend grace to ourselves. Um, but this one man, by not offering you compassion, your reaction was you were turned off to about his faith.
Yes,
And I wonder if those are things that we do maybe on a daily basis and don't even realize it.
it is. It is.
Mm,
That's just one example.
hmm.
Things that we do that could turn people off from
Yeah. And it
our.
wouldn't have been that difficult, you would think, for him to say something. What would you have liked to him to have said?
I would have liked for him to say, since I work on Saturday and I see that you're giving up your time to go to class, use your Sunday evening to catch up on your schoolwork. Simple as that.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, even if I am prepared to stay late on on a Sunday to catch up. Now, granted, where I live, I had to travel a distance to get to the office. And I would get there and he would have some meeting just rambling off that could have happened on a Monday. So I don't get to do any work. He would ramble off. If I have a few minutes, he would say, well, I'm here until 8 o'clock because my church starts at that time. You can continue working at that time, up to that time. And come 8 o'clock, he's out at the door. So I have to leave regardless of where I'm at in what I'm doing. I would simply like to hear or to know that you understand where I'm coming from. You know?
Why is that? Why would that be hard for him to extend to you? Any clues?
Yeah, poor leadership, poor leadership, lack of compassion. You don't understand or you don't seek to understand another person's um, perspective or position. Poor leadership.
Who in your life, Denise, has been a really great example of someone who offers compassion freely?
Who in my life?
Who have you observed in your life that's been really good at offering compassion besides Pastor Jesse? Do you have good
Really?
example? Do you have
Yes,
good
I do.
examples?
I do. I do. So this whole family that I speak about when for Thanksgiving, we've been gathering for years now, 36 years. She's my best friend. The year that my sister was murdered, she I didn't know her well. We had just gotten, we were 14 and 15 years old. We had just gotten telephone in our community. And someone had called my number and said they described the school that she went to that you need to meet. I think that you two have a lot in common. It was only about 10 years or so ago that we found out who made that call. And in talking to this person, not I've not really met her in person. I think I saw her probably twice before. But when my sister died, she sent a message. This is the person who I needed to meet that I eventually talked to on the phone.
Mhm.
She sent a message to my mother to ask if I could come to her home for Christmas dinner. Now, what had happened that morning, it was my sister was buried the 20th of December. She should have gotten married on Christmas morning. So this is the morning of her wedding that we all were sitting on the front porch, and there was just one empty chair. We didn't make breakfast that morning because she's the person who was the cook in the family. When my when we looked and we saw that the seat was empty, there was one empty seat, and it would have been where she would have been sitting.
Mm.
Everyone started crying. Right at that moment, my friends, her nanny, her helper, came with the message that my friend is asking my mother if I could have dinner with them. She didn't send her to ask me. She sent to ask my mother. And I was surprised when my mother told me, "You're going to be going to Zania's for dinner." That is the biggest act of compassion that anyone could. And today, there's nothing that amounts to that. She was 15 years old. To think of me in that moment was, it was something that had to be supernatural. We've been doing life together for 36 years. So much so that
Oh,
I've become a part of their family. Yeah.
so I have to ask you, Denise, what does this tell you about her?
She has a big heart,
Yeah.
loves freely, very compassionate.
Those are the kinds of people that you want to draw near to, that you want to hold close.
Yeah. And I do.
That's perfect. It's a perfect example. And I'm sure that this person, um, it's easy for them to be compassionate and to extend compassion to the hurting. It sounds like that's just one of her attributes.
Can I tell you that one of the reasons I did not meet her is because she had done surgery. So she was home. So she understood what needing compassion was like at the time. She had missed out from several months of school And she was home, so she knew, she understood. She's never been through anything like I did, you know.
But that doesn't mean you can't offer compassion
But that,
because you haven't been through because I have never had cancer doesn't mean I can't identify with people who've had cancer or diabetes, or are, uh, suffering from poverty. Because I haven't suffered that doesn't mean that I can't, offer compassion or understand.
I can tell you another example of compassion being offered. This time it was me who did it. 2020, it was the pandemic. Um, I'm going to give you two examples. I I was going to the park to grill. You know, that's the only place we could have gone to, right? So I was
Yeah.
going to the park to grill, and I noticed that there were homeless persons in the park, and so I all I noticed that there were kids out there that were sleeping in their cars, in the parents' cars, and this is at the South Natomas Park. They would the kids would come over to ask me for a piece of the chicken, or I would always take packs of franks. So when they come over, I'd have something to give them if the chicken wasn't ready. Franks are ready really quickly.
Mhm.
But what I did that morning was the Christmas morning. I didn't have any much money. I wish I could have bought them presents, but I couldn't. So I took all that I had, my dinner money, and I made breakfast. And I went, I'm a decorator as well. So I decorated one of the park bench, made it really festive. And they all came over for breakfast. The ham that I had, the egg that I had, everything that was in my house that morning, I made breakfast and I made a spread. And I gave them the little money that I had could only buy sweets. So I bought little packs of sweets and wrapped them for them. And that was their Christmas present. And I wish that every time or I saw one of my nieces, which is my real niece or my friend's kids, getting those many presents where they would unwrap and just pick up one and the others are tossed. I wish I could just take one of those toys for them that morning.
Mhm.
Right. The other one was that same year. I could not go to my family in the Bay. And Miss Linda, you are free to call us to jump in the conversation at any moment. If you have a contribution to this topic, go ahead and jump in. We're talking about compassion and trust. So I looked around. I remember there was somebody at church who said she's going to be alone that Christmas. And somebody else said, I am going to be alone because I kept asking, what are you doing for Christmas? And so what I eventually did was look out for these persons who were going to be alone, persons at RLC.
Mhm.
And I made a spread at my table that year. And they came over and I cooked, stayed up all night and I cooked. And we ate and we laughed and we chatted. There were single men in the group, there were older female in the group, there were young persons. We chatted and we bonded. And I think that year you were inviting me over too. Yes.
Yeah, because I had done the same thing.
Yes.
We
Yes.
weren't leaving town, and so I looked for people who didn't have a place to go, and it was one of the most wonderful Thanksgivings ever. Or was it Christmas?
It was Christmas.
It was Christmas, yeah.
Christmas.
I
And
love to do that, yeah.
it is so, I don't know. There's just something amazing about that. It y what it also did was open up my eyes to see that my neighbors were usually home when I was gone, because I live in a neighborhood with older, um, residents, and I did not realize that all these years when I was gone, my neighbors were locked in. And so what I did was made a plate and went around to distribute to the neighbors as well. So that was one of the ways that God used me to offer compassion. There was
It I was gonna say, the question that I've been inserting all along here is, what does this tell you about him? What does this tell you about her? And so now I do this with you. What does this tell us about Denise? It tells us that she is compassionate. It tells us that she is generous. It tells us that she has her eyes open and she sees you. It tells us that she is giving and going to the park and feeding these strangers. Who does that? Denise does that because of her heart for the Lord.
You know what? In 2018, my eyes was open when Pastor Dean preached that message about giving a hand up. You can call. Let me just say the number to call is 825-353-434-486. Go ahead and call. If you feel the need to share, just go ahead and call. I'm waiting on your calls.
Yeah, we
2018.
I was just gonna add that we would love to hear about times that compassion were offered to you. Eileen Ellington says, "I feel like I need to share." I'd love to hear, Eileen, ways that you have offered compassion or how compassion has been offered to you and what a difference it made to you.
2018, Pastor Dean preached a sermon about um, giving a hand up and not just hand out. And we went to, I cannot remember the name of the church where we fed the homeless. There is a call coming in. Let me just take this call. We fed the homeless, and that's where it was one of my best Thanksgiving. We fed them, we prayed for them, we set the tables. Want to say good afternoon to you, caller.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Denise and Miss Margie.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you for
You
calling.
know, I love to. Okay, go ahead.
Remember, you don't have to identify yourself unless you want to.
Okay, okay, okay. No, I was telling you, I love to participate in stuff like these, because that's where I'm coming from, huh?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Caller, do you feel like
I
it's
remember
easy?
I
Oh,
remember when I was growing up, and I didn't have anything,
mhm.
and I didn't have anything, and you know, I remember I didn't go with my mom to give me like Christmas. I don't know nothing to celebrate about Christmas. And when I got to Kingston, I didn't know about Christmas either. Only thing I know was like in the streets. But growing up, I have a lot of compassion because I'm a very emotional person. I don't like see people get hurt, and I don't like see disadvantage take of people, because I know what it is to hurt, and I know what it is for people to take disadvantage of you. So in my age growing up now, I was living in Kingston. So when it got to Christmas and I worked and I got my paid, and in Christmas they gave you a bonus and your pay. So the bonus now would be my saving. So I use that bonus to go to the market and I buy all the things that would cook a meal and decorate for Christmas and make a good meal for a community. So when somebody asks me where is your pay go, I don't answer because they say what the right hand know, the left hand must not know, huh?
Right.
So I use that money like to be charity then. So I cook. Me and my children gather to cook because I have a son. He's a one in a million chef. Sometimes he said to me, "Mommy, why are you giving?" I said, "When I give, you guys receive the blessing." I remember when I was there in Jamaica and I heard of this young lady. She has two children, but her baby father got killed by mistake. And she was working at the health center. And I went to the health center and I was there and somebody were talking about her. And I said, Lord, what must I do? What help can I offer to this young lady? I don't know her, none at all. I not even know her name. And I said, Lord, in my little inner voice, I said, Lord, what can I do to help? He said, the voice turned to me and said, do what you do best. Do what you know to comfort her. But I did get a little partner job and I go and I take out $10,000 and I put it in an envelope. But when I was putting it into the envelope, I said, Lord, is this enough to help she and her two children? And the voice said to me, say, liquor is much when God is in it. I can
Mm.
remember that clearly. And I go back to the health center. I ask somebody to take me there, and I was trying to talk to the young lady, call her, but because you have elderly there, and they say a stranger come to call because they just kill her baby daddy. So they say a stranger come to call a young lady. And I was saying, devil, you know that you're not robbing my blessing today. The Lord sent me to this young miss, and I'm going to bless her with whatever the Lord has blessed me with. And I got the envelope and I turned to her and said, you don't know me and I don't know you, but the Lord speak to my spirit to bless you. And I said to her, this is $10,000 in this envelope here. This is a blessing to you. And she was there, she was pouring down her tears. I said, dry your tears because the Lord will work it out for you. But
Go ahead,
repeat,
caller.
Denise.
Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So and back to the meal now. My son said, Mommy, why are you doing this? I said, whatever I do, it's your guys' blessing. So I gather my kids and I cook Christmas meal and I shared to that community. And when I finished share all my meal on that Christmas day for the community, I didn't end up with a meal for that Christmas day. I didn't end up with dinner for that day. And my neighbor said to me that I noticed you share out all your dinners and you're sitting down and you're not eating. And they gave me a plate of meal. And I was saying to myself, if I was disobedient not to cook for my community with what the Lord has blessed me with, I receive that good plate of meal. That was enough. I eat that day and I have to left back some for another day because it was enough. When I moved to the country now, I look for the homeless because homeless is my passion. And
Mm.
I ask questions because, in certain communities, you can't just move there and cook as a stranger, give it to people on the street, because, if thing wrong, they're going to hold you accountable. So I ask question and I asked around and I do the same thing when I get my pay and I get my pardon in the process of December. and I went and I buy meal and I buy presents, for the homeless because I remember growing up, I don't have food, I don't have place to sleep, I don't have clothes to wear because the
I'd like to
children
ask you a
is
question,
my
caller.
passion
I would like
and
to
the
ask you something.
children is my passion. I'm more for the children.
Dr. Marjorie wants to ask you a question, and I am going to ask you to wrap it up really quickly because we have someone else who is waiting in the wings.
Okay, okay.
My question for you is, how did you learn to be such a compassionate person? Who taught you how to be compassionate? Did you see someone like your mother who was also very compassionate, or did you learn this on your own?
I learned it on my own because my mom died when I was 5. And because the way that I grew up not knowing place to sleep, not knowing have clothes to wear. And don't have, and I don't want to see person in that capacity that I was in. So that's where my passion come from because
That's
I
remarkable.
learned to give from nothing.
Mhm. Wow.
People may
God
see
bless
you
you.
nowadays and them say, she not have nothing, but people they not even know that all you have, you spend it on your children without father, and you give it to the person on the street, and you give it to who your heart leader to give.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so
I
much
know
for
what it is
calling.
to have compassion, and I know
Thank
what
you.
it is to receive compassion.
Right. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate everything that you said. You are a remarkable woman of God.
Yeah, I am because even where I'm working now, I try to love. And somebody asked me, "What planet are you from?" I said, "I'm from this planet. I'm from Jamaica." They said I said, "It's not all black people are not good. You have good black people and you have good white people."
People are people everywhere, regardless of skin
Yeah,
tone. Gotta
exact
wrap
color,
you up.
right?
Gotta wrap you up. You mentioned something earlier that is a topic in one of my book that I'm writing.
Yeah,
That chapter is given from nothing. It speaks about my mother who did that. But we will
yeah,
talk about that some other time. I have
yeah.
someone else
Because
who is
I
waiting.
want to write a book someday.
You should. I believe that you should. You have a story to tell that
Yeah.
will
Yes.
heal other
Okay.
people. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
participating today. Thank you for calling. Thank you for talking
God
to
bless
Dr.
you.
Marjorie in the heart of the matter. God bless you.
Amen. I always want to participate in your topic.
We love when
So
you
I got
do.
it. I'm at home on Tuesday.
We love when you do. Let me try and get someone else in before the
Thank
time
you. Bye.
expires. Bye bye. Yes, Doc. Let me try and sort out this person
Hmm.
trying to get this caller on. Go ahead and talk.
Oh, I think it's just remarkable that this woman is so full of compassion and that she didn't learn it by observing someone else or being mentored and told this is what you do, this is what a good Christian woman does, is they offer compassion and they give a hand up. She learned this on her own. That's extraordinary.
Mm.
I'm impressed with that. God is so good.
Indeed. Indeed. I, on the other hand, learned it from my mother because I saw her giving from
Right.
nothing.
Yeah. I think that's probably more, if I can use a word, normal.
Come
I
on,
think
yeah.
that's to be expected, the way you see it patterned and you wanna be like that. But this woman on her own figured it out. That's extraordinary.
I'm trying to find this caller. I have a brief story of a Super Bowl Sunday when I'd come back from Jamaica and the person wanted to see some photos, and I thought I wouldn't have anything to give to her because I didn't go shopping yet. And she said to me, all I would take is a cup of coffee. And I had that in abundance because I'd just come back from Jamaica with some good Jamaican coffee.
So good.
And you know what I would have missed out on? An opportunity to share the gospel because that's what the day turned out to be. She came to church with me and then trying to find this caller. Give me one moment. You can keep talking, Doc. I'm trying
Okay.
to find.
Are there people in your line?
Okay, I think I have the caller
Oh,
online. Hello, good
okay.
Yes,
afternoon.
hello. Yes, hello, good afternoon. Yes, I
You
could
can say
not,
good
I was
afternoon to Dr.
listening.
Marjorie, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Marjorie. Yes, this is Elaine Ellington calling. I was watching from Facebook and I hear um Sister Denise sharing, and I said I need to take this opportunity to share as well.
I'm so glad you called. Is it about compassion?
It- yes, it is about compassion, and yes, I would like to share about someone who showed me compassion when I needed it. There are many instances where I've done, but I would rather to share about the person who showed me compassion.
Yes,
And
please.
um, I think, go ahead.
I'm just excited to hear what you have to say, caller.
Okay, yes. It's about 11 to 12 years ago. I ended up in the hospital, and it was a mental hospital in New York. And I was there for about maybe 9 days. And it's like my family, they heard that I was in the hospital and they left. They did not come and visit me. My daughter did, and she would come every day. She had a new baby and she would visit me every day. But what stood out was, I felt abandoned by my family. I would go to the phone box and call, and they never did. But someone that I did not really know so much, she's been a friend of the family. She was very close to my aunt, and I didn't know her. I heard of her, but did not know her personally. I've met her personally. And while I was there in the hospital, I was told that I had a visitor, and I was wondering who it was because I knew it was not my daughter, because my daughter would come, and she would come in the evening and bring me whatever I need. And when I went in, it was the lady that been around in my family for a while, and she was there. Her name is Maria. Maria. She's not from my country. She's from Trinidad, and she came and she visited me. And when she did, it's like she let me know that everything was going to be all right. It's like when she came and I saw that someone who did not know me came and visited me when my whole family left me. That gave me hope. That gave me hope. And she didn't, uh, she, she, that gave me hope. And from that day, we had a bond from that day forward. We have this bond where it doesn't matter, she's in New York, she's been whatever I'm going through, it's like she will always call. She has no children of her own. She is someone that others would look down on, but for some reason she stand out to me. And I love her dearly. She's been always been there when I started my business and I was seeking support from others. She was like one of the first. She doesn't have it like that. She doesn't have it. And she lives on a really tight budget. But you know what she did? She doesn't even have a phone, a cell phone, but she mailed me a check in the mail to support my business. And as I said, she's always, always there. I could be going through a situation and she will call. She will call me and she will encourage me. And I just say that I love this woman so much. She's a bonus mother to me. She's a bonus mother. And there's nothing that I would not give her. And I promise God that I will take care of her because she doesn't have any children. She has never married, never been in any relationship or anything. But, I owe it to her. And I know God is making it possible because I promise her, I said, I will take care of you. I do not forget kindness and what she did for me then at the point when everyone left. But she came and she showed me compassion. And she herself has been there through her mental situation. She had a mental had, and I said had because I believe God healed her.
Yeah.
She had a mental situation. And
That is such a beautiful, beautiful story. I have one almost identical, caller. It's one thing to visit someone in a hospital, and many people feel very uncomfortable going into regular hospitals. But a mental hospital, that's a whole different topic. And it's very, very difficult for people to visit, let alone acknowledge that someone they know is in a mental hospital. I myself have had 3 different times when I have had to go to a mental hospital, and I know that the people that I thought were closest to me just scattered.
yeah,
They were nowhere to be found, but one friend, just like you, one friend came forward
eh,
and came to visit
yeah,
me, and I was so surprised that she would be there, but she understood, and she was not afraid of
yeah,
a mental hospital, and since that time, just like you, we have stayed very, very close friends. I so appreciate her sacrifice in not thinking it was weird or less of me because I wasn't coping and strong, but I have a very similar story, and it's often said that hope is the greatest antidepressant, and just
yeah,
having this friend step forward and just treat me like I was normal was great medicine for me, and it sounds like you had the same thing happen with this friend who stepped forward
yeah,
in a very difficult situation when your family was not to be found. This person stepped forward. What a gift from God. Compassion like that is a tremendous gift that you offer unselfishly from God. God bless her and God bless you that you've been through this,
and
and now you know that if somebody else is in that situation, you'll be the one to call and go visit at a mental hospital because you've been there and you know what it's like and that you know what a gift it was to you when your friend showed up.
yes. And I just want to say one more thing. My daughter also, she's been there. She had a young baby at the time, and
Mm.
she would leave the baby to come. She makes sure I have everything. I had her, she had weighed 1 pound, 12 ounces when
Oh,
she was born. And she has been a blessing unto me. She's been there as well. And even now, she's been there. And I said, God has given me this 1 pound, 12 ounce baby for a time like this because as I said, she left everything she was doing and she makes sure she took care of me. And she makes sure that even now she's sacrificing, she rather do without to make sure I have. So I do not want to leave her out as well. And I know that God will bless her as well for everything that she has done for me. I do not take these things for granted because
I believe in God's word, and God's word tells me that He will bless those that bless me, and they have been a blessing. And I know that God is going to bless them for what they have done for me. Yes,
Beautiful.
you have
Thank
said
you so
that,
much.
I've been in
Thank
the position to be a blessing to others, but I do not like to focus on what I do, because what I do unto God. But I am grateful for those who reach out and help me in my time of need.
Yes.
And
Thank you so so much.
I want to thank Denise as well. She's been a blessing to me. She's been a blessing to me as well. We have never met in person, but she's been a blessing. When I reach out to her, she did not hesitate more than one time. And I just want to thank her as well, for being there for me. I appreciate her.
Bless you,
Thank
my
you.
sister.
Yeah.
To
Thank
God
you
be the
so
And I
glory.
much.
love and I love you.
Love
And
you
just
too,
thank you.
Eileen.
Thank you for all the times when you sacrifice, you pray for me, whatever you do. I just want to tell you I appreciate it.
I appreciate you
Thank you.
also.
Yeah.
This is where
Okay.
we have to pull things down on.
Okay. Have a bless. Yeah.
God
Bye.
bless you.
Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Any final words, Dr. Marjorie?
Compassion. It is such a gift from God, and it's something that's a given to us as a gift, and it's something that we extend to others. I loved her story. I could totally identify. I've been in the same place. When it comes to mental health issues, a lot of people just can't handle it and they scatter. And you wonder where's my family, where's my friends? But people come forth with that act of compassion, and it's such a good medicine. So I just pray that the listeners today would extend compassion and see what happens.
Do you want to read that comment, Dr. Marjorie?
Stephanie Brown. Hi, Stephanie. What a powerful discussion. A lot of nuggets to apply to my life. I just want to thank everyone who take time out to share God. Bless you all. Thank you.
You know what I loved about today's discussion?
What?
Today's Giving Tuesday. This discussion was giving. It fit right in to the theme.
Yeah.
Give
Very
compassion.
cool.
When we can't give anything else, give compassion, give love. It builds trust. It builds confidence.
And it gives hope. And like I said, it's the greatest antidepressant around is to feel that there's hope.
Want to say good afternoon to Jasmine Forrest over there in Florida. Good afternoon to Carlene Sutherland in Atlanta, Georgia. Yvonne Buchanan in New York. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon also to Patricia Pinnock and to Tracy Cole in Manchester, Jamaica. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making it the heart of the matter on the higher drive. That's the heart of the matter with Dr. Marjorie right here on the higher drive on HEG Radio. Doc, thank you for coming and sharing. I think we can stay on this topic a little longer.
Yeah.
It is such a blessing. It was such a blessing today just to, hear you talk about it. I believe that this topic can lead to many other topics of trust, of
Yes.
hope,
Yes.
of, you know,
Yeah.
so much others. And I think we can stay on it during this Christmas season because it is so necessary. There are so many persons who, while we are celebrating, while we had a great Thanksgiving, had not so wonderful one because of things that were happening or because they needed some compassion and hope.
And what about extending compassion to those who don't seem to deserve it or want it?
My
The people who are really difficult in your life. and you just want to smack them rather than give them compassion. We could talk for a long time about that.
Yes. Let's do so. It is almost time, or it is over the time for Adventures in Odyssey, and today we will be bringing you 2 episodes because I was missing on Thursday and Friday, so we're trying to play catch up. So I'm going to be bringing the episode for the 27th and for today. Thank you again, Dr. Marjorie. One of these days we're going to say the heart of the matter brought to you by. Do you think it will be Real Life Church?
Make it so. Yes.
I wonder if Pastor Dean is listening to us. Want to
Do you
take it
think
off.
he listens?
I think he does sometimes. That's the reason I say that. I want to say good afternoon to you, Stephanie Brown. Janice McIntosh, before we go, Janice McIntosh says, I think even a kind word means a lot to someone who is having a bad day. Thank you so much, Janice, for chiming in this one.
Right.
Alan Ellington, good afternoon to you. Juliet Lindo, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the persons who are tuning in on YouTube and Facebook. Of course, this is where I'm going to have to pull things down and continue the broadcast on hggradio.ca. So I'm asking you to jump over to hggradio.ca because I can't play music here. And this would be of no value to you if you want to go back to watch it. Doc, thank you again. God bless you. God bless you for your wisdom. I honor you for your faithfulness in coming on and for just opening up to share with us.
It's a blessing to do that, Denise.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a
Love you.
great rest of your afternoon. Love you too. Again, want to invite the listeners to join us on hggradio.ca because this is where I pull things down on Facebook and YouTube.
Your weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning flow.
Now your greater is coming.
Mondays to Fridays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. MST. With me, your host, Odette Thompson, right here on HGG Radio. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health as your soul prospers. We believe for it.
Join me, Pastor